As a stay-at-home dad, my journey took an unexpected turn. When Emily received a significant promotion to oversee a regional branch in a different city, it became clear that stepping away from my job was the right choice. The decision brought increased financial stability and a brighter future for our family, particularly with the arrival of our newborn twins. Initially, I embarked on a quest for employment in our newly adopted city. However, it quickly became clear that my decision to remain at home with the children was the most advantageous choice. I must admit it required a bit of adaptation. I yearned for the fulfillment that comes from a job I truly adore, yet I have embraced my circumstances to the fullest. I have acquired new skills and have even seen some of my short stories published online. That aspect has proven to be surprisingly rewarding. Nevertheless, I found myself harboring doubts. When one partner assumes the role of the sole breadwinner, the dynamics can transform, often in ways that catch you off guard. I found myself anxious about the possibility of Emily undergoing a transformation. Would she hold the same respect for me? In general, she did. She never truly wielded her position as a means of superiority over me. However, I observed the subtle details, such as how I would often purchase gifts for her without occasion, while she seldom reciprocated in kind. I chose to overlook it. The struggle simply wasn't justified. Yet here I find myself, pen in hand, compelled to express that the foundation of trust is beginning to fracture. Emily often finds herself working late into the night. I understand. She is at the helm of a large team, where the clock is always ticking on deadlines. However, it has been encroaching upon our time together as a family. Our outings have become a rare occurrence. Plans have a way of falling through, and I find myself questioning, is she truly engaged in her work? It was on a Saturday that the turning point arrived. Emily was sharing photos on her phone, and I caught a fleeting glimpse of a vibrant club scene within the image carousel. She never brought up the idea of going out. We refrained from indulging in the nightlife of clubs. And if she chose to go with friends, what was there to conceal? As she wandered off to prepare some popcorn, I seized the opportunity to peruse her gallery. The photograph captured a moment from a club on the very night she asserted she was on duty. She donned a short dress, a drink held gracefully in her hand, while a man rested his chin on her shoulder, and a look of happiness adorned her face. I swiftly transmitted the image to my own device, then erased all evidence of its existence. She never brought it up, yet when I looked at her phone again, the photo had vanished. She was aware that I had witnessed something. From that moment forward, I became attentive. One evening, she returned home donning a pair of shoes distinct from those she had departed in. Once again, I detected the aroma of alcohol, cleverly concealed beneath a veil of minty gum. I hesitated to make a direct accusation against her. I have experienced gaslighting in the past. I required more than mere doubt. This is not what I wished to be the case. After all that we have endured, I wished I was mistaken. Yet, beneath the surface, I was aware that I truly wasn't. Thus, I began to chronicle every detail. Her late nights, her excuses, her altered demeanor when it comes to her phone. It evolved into a ritual of sorts, a quest for the answers she refused to provide. Then arrived the clash. I expressed my desire to return to academia and pursue a master's degree. It marked a significant stride toward rejoining the workforce when the twins grew older. She found that displeasing. I declared my commitment to the role of a stay-at-home dad. She claimed her salary was sufficient, expressed that the children required my presence at home. She discovered every rationale. Resources, moments, the children. However, what truly struck me was when she referred to my educational aspirations as an unwarranted expenditure. It was at that moment I understood this transcended mere logistics. She wished for me to remain reliant. That evening, I took up residence in the guest room. The following evening, she returned home later than she ever had before. Not a single word was uttered. She headed directly to her room. The scent of alcohol lingered in the hallway long after she had passed by. 15 minutes later, she was deep in slumber, the soft sound of her snoring filling the room. It was then that I noticed it, her phone resting quietly beside her. I did not waver. I entered her gallery and swiftly scrolled through the images. I discovered 3 separate dinners, just her and a man, unmistakably not related to work. And that evening a bar selfie. No context, yet my instincts whispered enough. I perused her social media profiles. There's nothing amiss in that regard. Yet, as I delved into her emails, everything began to fall into place. A recent message arrived from a man named Mark. Upon initial observation, it appeared polished, yet the thread revealed an entirely different narrative. For nearly a year, they had been exchanging emails, orchestrating dinners and gatherings. He wasn't even employed at her company. I discovered him on LinkedIn. Similar field, distinct company. There were no overt messages, yet the phrase that shattered me was profoundly simple. Let us convene at our familiar rendezvous. Her response, a mere single word. Indeed, I was aware that I possessed my answer. I have yet to confront her. Not in any formal sense, nor have I disclosed that I am aware. However, I have been meticulously recording every detail. Before long, I too shall find myself stepping into that familiar spot. However, I shall not be presenting any flowers. I will be bringing the divorce papers. Devotion held paramount significance in my life. I shared that with her during our initial encounter. She expressed that it held significance for her as well. She asserted that she had been betrayed in the past and vowed never to inflict such pain on another. Yet, here we find ourselves. I extended forgiveness to the woman who had betrayed my trust on 2 separate occasions. Once there existed a misstep. Twice formed a recurring motif. Yet here I stand with children to shield and a dignity I will not compromise. Those who betray trust should not be granted another opportunity. Never in my existence. Not any longer. Thank you for tuning in. We invite you to share your reflections in the comments below. And keep in mind, trust your instincts. Guard your tranquility. Correspondence with the hotel. It was precisely the proof I required. I sent the whole message to myself from her email and removed it from her sent folder. To claim I was furious would barely scratch the surface. To be frank, it has been quite maddening. It has been barely a week since the event unfolded, yet I find myself already in conversation with a divorce attorney. It pains me to acknowledge that my doubts were indeed justified. I despise it entirely. However, I find solace in the fact that I will soon sever my connections with her, as trust has been irrevocably lost. And I wish to have no further connection with her, aside from her role as the mother of my response. Children, this is not your burden to bear, OP. I hold you in high regard for your refusal to ignore this situation or convince yourself to remain for the sake of ease or self-deception. Revision 2. Thus we arrive at the concluding chapter of this entire saga. Divorces are rarely straightforward, aren't they? While I'm certain you're all aware, this sale didn't unfold as seamlessly as I had envisioned. However, it ultimately aligned with my intentions for the most part. I believe that is enough for me to be frank. I shall endeavor to make this final segment brief. Upon discovering my wife's infidelity, I meticulously documented her emails with her affair partner, alongside photographs in her gallery that revealed her deceit. She had been out at clubs and dinners, all while claiming to be working late. The Saturday following the arrival of the divorce papers from my lawyer, I arranged for the kids to spend the night with their cousin. We were supposed to have the house all to ourselves upon her return from work. Yet again, she informed me that she would be staying late at work. I went along with it, assuring her that everything was perfectly fine and so forth. When she dispatched that message, I was convinced she remained at her workplace. I made my way there and located a parking spot that would allow me to see her as she exited the workplace. At precisely 6 p.m., the hour she typically wrapped up her work, unless she found herself staying late, I witnessed her car emerge from the lot. I took care to capture a photograph, complete with a timestamp as she drove away. The photograph also captured the license plate. Then I followed her closely. This day proved fortunate, as she found herself at a hotel rather than attending one of her usual dinners or clubs. I took it for granted that this was the typical hotel where they gathered. It wasn't overly extravagant, merely a standard hotel that was likely affordable enough for those regular gatherings without being an absolute eyesore. I positioned my car at the far end of the hotel while she maneuvered hers into place, and I followed her, maintaining a considerable distance between us. I held the divorce papers tightly in my grasp, prepared to present them to her at that very moment, ensuring that not a trace of denial would linger in her mind. It perplexes me how she remained oblivious to my presence as I trailed behind her, ascending the staircase, only to observe her glide down the elongated corridor toward the room where she and Mark were destined to rendezvous. Once the door clicked shut, I approached and rapped gently on the surface. The amusing aspect was that when I heard a man inquire about the identity of the visitor, I found myself engaging in the wonderfully predictable act of declaring it was room service. I positioned myself to the side, ensuring he couldn't catch a glimpse of me through the peephole. It was conceivable that he was aware of her marital status and perhaps could have recognized me. Moreover, my attire was far too informal for the role of room service. He swung the door open, casting his gaze first to one side and then to where I stood. Upon catching sight of me, he inquired if I was the one who had knocked. I nodded in agreement, retrieving my phone to capture the moment. Before he had a chance to utter a word, I instructed her to summon my wife to the door. He appeared taken aback upon hearing that, and in a moment of inexplicable impulse, I pushed past him to find Emily by the bedside, taking off her jewelry, her dress unzipped completely at the back. Upon catching sight of me, she truly leaped in surprise. She never anticipated encountering that person. Indeed, that was certain. I had dispatched a message to her merely moments prior to that. "Is this the drive that keeps you working late into the night?" My voice trembled as I spoke those words into the recording, for deep down, I was acutely aware of her betrayal. Yet, seizing her presence felt like an overwhelming surge, nearly beyond my capacity to endure. The video was brief. Mark refrained from intervening. I carefully set aside the divorce papers and handed them to her, which she accepted without hesitation. I declared that it was finished. I revealed to her that my awareness of the situation extended far beyond her assumptions. And then I stepped outside. That was the moment. I informed my brother that he would need to look after the kids the following day as well. I kept him informed about all that was unfolding, so that was not an issue. She returned home roughly 30 minutes after I did, settling into a different chair in the living room. It was evident that words eluded her, leaving an uncomfortable silence hanging in the air. At last she inquired, "May I elaborate?" Yet I urged her not to trouble herself, that there was no necessity to deceive me directly. Once again, she remained silent following that moment. All I conveyed to her was my desire for her to sign the papers, hoping to simplify matters. The paper was signed a week later. The divorce process unfolded with remarkable ease, largely due to my diligent efforts in meticulously recording and documenting her infidelities. I managed to cross-reference the images and emails with the text messages she had sent, informing me of her late work hours on those specific nights. I found myself in the role of a stay-at-home dad, and the late nights became a recurring theme. It often felt as though she wasn't the most suitable choice for the children most of the time, even though she was the woman I shared 70% custody with, a situation I accepted without complaint. Moreover, I had been without a full-time job for years, which meant there was alimony due to me. Believe me, I was completely at ease with the situation, as I understood that through smart saving and investment, I could secure her alimony to fund my master's degree. And I am already in the process of preparing my applications for that. We made the decision to sell the house and divide the profit, as it was too spacious for her to manage with the children only 30% of the time, and the mortgage was becoming too burdensome for me to sustain. In any case, I sensed that I emerged victorious in the grand scheme of things. Divorce is no trivial matter, particularly when children are caught in the crossfire, yet I find myself not responsible for the circumstances that led us here. She did, and it pains me deeply because my love for her was immense. Yet life continues on. I will either thrive in my own company or discover a more suitable companion. There is invariably someone who surpasses you. I must say, it brings me great joy to learn that the legal matters have resolved positively for you. 70% custody and alimony. That is justice fulfilling its purpose. And I truly admire how you're transforming that alimony into a stepping stone for your future. Pursuing your master's degree. That holds immense strength. It's unfortunate that it has reached this point. I apologize for the burden you've had to bear. Yet I believe you are entirely correct. You have not lost. Somewhere beyond the horizon, a more suitable companion awaits. Even if they don't appear immediately, you are already demonstrating that you are more than sufficient on your own. What compels individuals to cast aside years of trust and familial bonds for something so fleeting and superficial? We invite you to share your thoughts in the comments section below. We extend our heartfelt gratitude to you, outro, for being with us today in our space. Don't forget to show your support by liking and subscribing, and be sure to tap that notification bell so you stay updated on our upcoming video.